Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about health and wellness, but we're going to be having a conversation that we really never really had here on Coaching in Session. It's because we have someone who's going in with so much background, with so much experience, and she puts it in a way that we understand. And not to pat myself on the back all the time, but the questions I asked were extremely helpful for her to really just give us what we need in this episode. So from start to finish, I can tell you that you're going to learn so much about yourself. And it is important that we, especially at this moment in our months of the year, we're thinking about making changes, right? Our New Year's resolutions are coming up. We might want to get to the gym. We might want to start working out. Maybe we're thinking about the bikini body in the summer. Will we reach it? I can say that you can reach it, but in order to do that, you have to begin today. So let's begin with that episode with my guest, Sarah Johnston, and myself, and we're going to learn just how health and wellness can change our life for the better.
I try to fix it. I try to picture someone else, but
Welcome, Sarah Johnston, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for coming on. As I said, today I'm having you on as a health and wellness coach. We're going to be learning about your work and how you help people. And we love health and wellness here at Reven Concepts because it is something that I think is the first step to greatness. It's the first step for many people changing their whole entire life, their circumstance. And if you could begin to just apply a little bit more wellness in your life, maybe just not about food and fitness, but are you being well? So we're going to be talking about all of that today. In your own words, can you please tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help them?
Sure thing. I am Sarah Johnston. I am a health, fitness, and wellness coach. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my husband and my 15-month-old son, who is a wild hoot and never stops moving. So good for him, already being active. But I've been on my own health and wellness journey for the better half of 15 years. Struggled with some things like disordered eating in my high school days, kind of ricocheted the other way in college and went to a very unhealthy lifestyle of cheesy grits and Bud Light in college, and have really worked to find the equilibrium and the equal ground myself over the past 15 years, which has really spurred into a passion for me wanting to help others do the same. In my own journey, I have realized it is so much more than food and fitness, like you said. And there are so many aspects to our wellness that a lot of people don't consider. I decided to get certified from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, IIN, as a health coach. I am NASM personal trainer certified, as well as 200-hour yoga certified and precision nutrition level 1 certified. So I've taken all of these certifications and built an offering for my clients to really customize something that's going to work for them, that is sustainable and long-term. I feel like that's also the piece that a lot of people are missing, is the sustainability and the long-term factor to it. I work with clients on a very bio-individual basis. We're all different people. We all need different things. And a lot of times I think what we see on social is do this and you will get X result. And that's just not the reality for all of us because we're very unique humans. That is how I am working with clients at a high level, and happy to dive into the specifics on anything you want to know about.
Of course. And I love Coaching in Session for that reason, is because you can have a health and wellness coach on a past episode. You're like, well, I already watched an episode on a health and wellness coach, but then you get a different breed of health and wellness coaching, right? It's just like a person who's just so into it, the yoga, all the types of certifications, right? We can begin to create tailored plans. I love individualized plans because the person that we're coaching is not some regular person that we just pull off a conveyor belt saying, okay, you're just gonna be like everyone else. That is not true. You are a unique individual. You have your own unique mindset, and you have maybe some issues that you need to address, and it might be different than the other person. And just
or mine. Yeah. And it's different than
Exactly.
mine. It's really fun to work with people because I get to see a variety of things that they may be struggling with. And sometimes I'm like, oh, interesting. Actually, I realize now I'm kind of struggling with that too. Like, how can we work to fix this? So I really find a lot of passion behind getting to the root cause of that person to help them feel better. Because also, we don't all evaluate our own priorities in wellness the same at all. So these really unique conversations I have with people bring me great joy because I feel like it's actually something that will work for them, not just work for the general masses.
Yeah. And then the acts of service, like when we look at it that way too, it's when we're providing a service to someone, especially like our clients, we see them doing good. We want them to do good, of course. But then we can also see them going through the hard points, maybe points that we once went through, maybe points where like, oh, as you said, you have a 15-month-year-old running around the house, loves moving. I'm in the same boat as you. My mindset is very different than like my wife's mindset. Maybe because I'm a mindset coach, maybe because I was a teacher, taught special ed and all that. He's not special ed, but it's just that he's very rambunctious. He has the same energy level. And that is just a child, a boy. My sister has a girl, and they're all the
Boys
same
are
age.
a different breed. They are.
They are.
Yesterday, I wear a little ring, a fitness tracker, this Aura ring, and I walked 13 miles yesterday in my house, basically in my house, chasing after him, inside, outside, running around. And it's interesting that you bring up the mindset thing too, because what I also love to work with people on is the fact that it's okay if it evolves. Because my mindset on my own personal health and wellness is vastly different now than it was when I was single, unmarried, only had to worry about myself, had all the time in the world. I was structuring things very differently than I do now. And so with the approaches that I take with a lot of my clients is it's okay to change. It's okay to also change what was once working because it's not probably always going to work. I don't have the same amount of time I did 2 years ago. I have a very different lifestyle now. How can we ensure that we're setting you up for success, that if you do need to reevaluate your plans or your goals, that doesn't freak you out. It actually empowers you. And you have the tools and you have the capability now to do that and work with the times rather than against it, because we're evolving humans. We're not meant to stay the same. That's the point. But how can we ensure that we're going to set you up as something that doesn't make you scared? It actually makes you excited. That's a big mindset and approach I take with a lot of my clients too.
But that's a great point. Like, let's go down that path, right? How can we make it approachable for health and wellness to people? They might want it, they might have an inkling for it, but maybe they're a little bit nervous. They don't know the first step. What is your process to help people navigate that life of better health and wellness?
Yeah, it's a frequent thing where I think a lot of people also, I blame society in a lot of ways and Instagram in a lot of ways, but people think that they need to have this massive overhaul and they need to go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour overnight. And it's that classic New Year's resolution fail thing. Okay, I've never exercised a day in my life. My New Year's resolution is to exercise every single day for at least 60 minutes. Okay, well, you've never exercised before. The second that you don't do that for one day, you're going to feel like you failed and you're going to feel like you want to give up on that goal. If we're starting from square one for someone who has never really ventured down the path of taking their own health and wellness into control, I really encourage them to start small. What's 5 minutes of something you can do today? And can you do that 3 times a week? What's 10 minutes of something? Can you go on a walk 3 times a week for 10 minutes? It gives you the flexibility and it gives you the structure within your week of, okay, I said I was going to do it today. Life gets crazy. My kid's sick for the 500th time because he's in daycare. I have 4 other days in the week that I can shift this to. I'm not a failure because I've set myself up in a way that I can restructure things. I encourage people to start small. If they're really truly starting from square one, why don't we take a look at your calendar? Why don't we take a look at your schedule and your goals? And maybe your end goal is exercising for 45 minutes 4 times a week. Can we break that up first? Can we get you into the routine of doing it? Starting is the hardest part. A lot of times it is the most difficult part to get you into the routine of starting. Just that 10 minutes. Next week, can you make it 15? Can you make it 20? We'll get there. We'll work up to the 45 minutes 4 times a week. But you can't expect yourself to make a rapid change overnight without being realistic about the path to get there. This is what a lot of people don't love me for. I ask them how often they're doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. I'm like, how much time do you spend scrolling on TikTok or Instagram? Really, how much time? Can we shift some of that to a small goal for this week? Can we maybe not scroll for 10 minutes a day? And can you meditate for 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes 3 times a week? Shift it, shift the time around. Can we start there? And if not, we meet next week. What was the barrier to that? Was it starting? Was it the overwhelm of getting it put into your day? What were the challenges that you were presented, and how can we work on those? It's always going to be start small. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They want the rapid change. They want the 2-week fix, but that's not how things work. You have to set yourself up in a way where you can do this for the rest of your life, not just for this month that you're hoping to make the change for. So I really go back to basics and I start really small if you're coming from square one, for sure.
I think I have a blog coming out like next week or something, and it touches on so many of the great aspects you were speaking of. I do want to focus on one though. When it comes to failure, for example, as you said, we have our New Year's resolutions. We are saying we're going to go to the gym, let's say 3 days a week. We don't do it. We feel like a failure. Is that a sense of being well if we have the notion of failure when we're trying to do something that is going to better us?
I encourage everyone that I work with. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. Can we turn the word failure into feedback? Let's remove the word failure from our vocabulary because there's going to be points that don't go to plan. Okay, you want to work out 3 times a week and you didn't do it this week. That's just feedback. What happened during those days that was preventing you from accomplishing that goal that you set out for? Let's write those down. Let's evaluate those. I have a data analytics background, so I work with marketing data. I'm data obsessed. Let's get the data down. That's your feedback. That's not your failure. That's something that you can actually use to implement moving forward. A lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I feel like a failure. I'm like, it's not failure, it's feedback. And how can we actually use that to better ourselves and to create a plan that's going to work? We have all of this great information now. Look at this. Look at this great data. This is fantastic. This is the opposite of failure. You've just given me 15 bullet points that we can work with you on. That's my biggest thing. Feedback, not failure, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that too, because they are maybe looking at the data. They're like, okay, well, it's been, 7 days and I only worked out once. So they're looking at the numbers. People, they can see things a lot more simplistically when it's like in front of them versus like, okay, I give myself this grandiose idea of what they want to accomplish, but yet they don't understand how much work is going to be involved. So they do these things like death scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, YouTube. And it is easy. Our attention span has becomes minute. It's just like, all right, give me the next thing. Give me the next quick fix. But when it comes to our personal development, and health is definitely one of them when we're trying to change our body, let alone our mind, it can take time. How can we be more patient when we are so acclimated to the quick stuff, right? Give me quick entertainment. Give me quick fun. Give me quick pleasure. But when it comes to the long things that require patience, like health and wellness, how can we become more structured to remain that long journey?
So this is actually a really interesting one because a lot of times when people come to me with what they think they want to do, it's not actually what they want to do. They'll see this person that they know, their friend is having a really great time training for a marathon. Okay, I want to train for a marathon. I hate running though. And now I feel like this sucky feeling whenever I have to go out for a run. Okay, then what do you want? We have to figure out what actually you do want. Of course, it's going to be challenging and it's going to challenge you in some way. But what is making you think that you want to run that marathon? Do you actually just want to create a plan for yourself that you're out and you're moving? Maybe that's swimming for you. Maybe that's Zumba. They come to me with this very concrete idea in their mind a lot of times of this is what I want. And when I get it, I'll be happy. And then they start down that path and they realize a lot of the things that they're having to do aren't just challenging, but they don't like. You're not going to do something that you don't enjoy. So why don't we find ways where your wellness is yours? Like I was talking about, bio-individual. It doesn't have to look like your friends or your moms or this person that you saw on social. If for you, we can get you to walking 3 times a week and strength training too, and you feel great, who cares about that marathon? Who cares about it? You're feeling good. That's what feels good in your body and in your life. So it is really interesting because a lot of times I have to challenge my clients on, is that what you really want? I know that's what you're saying, but is that what you really want? You're coming back to me week after week, feeling this sense of failure, AKA our feedback. You're coming to me week after week saying, I'm not enjoying this. And it's not just because it's challenging. I'm not enjoying this. Can we reframe it? Let's figure out a way that you won't have such dread whenever you're attempting to go and do this thing. I had a client recently wanted to get into meditation. She came to me thinking meditation was you sit on the ground with zero thoughts in your brain in dead silence with your eyes closed. I was like, okay, well, let's start to get you into a routine. Let's do 1 minute of that. The following week, she was like, I was itchy. Like I hated it. I hated every single second. So I said, here are 2 other types of meditations. Let's try those. The first one, a walking meditation. Go outside and walk for 5 minutes. What's something you see, something you smell, something that you could touch, a color, and a sound. Name those 5 things. That's a walking meditation. You're turning your brain off and reallocating it towards something else. The second meditation, this one's a little bit more of a brain buster, but I told her to pick a 4-letter word, love, for example. Think of a word that starts with L, then O, then V, then E. Do it again until your brain calms down. And she did both of those. She ended up liking the walking meditation more. And she's like, but I don't really feel like that's meditation. Yes, it is. Because you are consciously dedicating your time to doing something where you're removing thoughts and pushing it towards something else. You can be moving. Your eyes can be open. You can literally be moving your legs. You can be using your brain. It is still a form of meditation. So now she's on this great path where she's doing that 3 times a week. And that is her meditation. But she came to me thinking, I have to sit on the ground with my crisscross applesauce, with my hands, with my palms on my legs, with my eyes closed. Okay, you hate that. So why are you doing it? So it's a lot of reshifting on what people say they want and what they actually need. It's been a really interesting journey.
Yeah, it is going to be that journey for many people to go down, figure out what they like, what they want. I know we live in a world where peer acceptance is so big. We see our magazines, like if we look back in the 90s, we had models who were just like super thin, in shape. And then today we have our plus size models. So now people are starting to see, well, what is what? So they can say, okay, body positivity at any size. I could be skinny, I could be large. But then they look in the mirror. Maybe they find that they're not truly happy with themselves. And they might say they love themselves. They might say that they're doing the right thing. But yet these are the same people who are saying, well, I want to go to the gym for my New Year's resolutions. I want to get that bikini body, right? What is the correlation between following body positivity, looking at other people, and then looking at ourselves in the mirror? And then we finally maybe get an inkling of what we truly desire, right? Like finding that true desire of what we want for ourselves and not just what other people are showing us.
Yeah, I think we're still doing so much unraveling of the years and years that it was one body that was valuable. And I challenge my clients a lot of times to separate their physical being and their mental being. They're connected in a lot of ways, yes. And what's shocking is like the smallest part, the 20%, which is our head, dictates so much of how we actually feel in other aspects. And if you're talking body image, it's okay to have hard days. I also say that we're not going to love ourselves every single second of every single day. I have yet to meet someone who can do that. We're going to have some challenging days here or there, but can we separate our physical being and our mental being? Okay, so you're saying you're feeling some discomfort or some body image issues when you're looking in the mirror. What's dictating that? Well, tried on a pair of jeans and they didn't exactly fit. Okay, what's stopping you from buying new jeans? Well, I don't want to go a size bigger. Okay, has anyone ever asked you when you walked into a room to state the size of your jeans before you could speak with them? No. Okay. So why are you holding on to this number as part of your value? And it starts to get people thinking of, okay, there's my physical self and there's my mental self. And you have to really get to a place where you're understanding the whys behind what you're feeling. Why do you want to go to the gym 3 times a week? Well, I saw this person that looked like they were in really good shape and I want to look like them. Okay, but why? Because I want, it's almost like my 4-year-old niece. Why? If you start to ask that, I want to look like them. Why? Because society tells me to. Why? Because that's what's acceptable. But why? And they start to say, well, I don't really know. Well, there's the disconnect. Your mental self and your physical self are not connecting right now. So that's a big exercise I typically go through, especially when people are kind of struggling with the body image aspect of it. I also do want to preface, I don't think it's wrong to want to change your body in some way, shape, or form. You want to get stronger. You want to get faster. You want to change your physique a bit, but it's always going to have to be connected is my mental being aligned to the physical being? Am I doing this because I feel like society needs me to, and because my brain is telling me I need to? Or am I doing this because I'm aligned? And because this is something that I'm actually feeling like is making an impact on my well-being as a whole. So it's a big conversation. It's a fine line to dance with. And it's one I have frequently with my clients, but disconnection is sometimes helpful to look at it as separate pieces. And then we put them back together and we make you start to work with the mental and the physical all at once.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I like to phrase it in the sense of, let's look at our bank account. Do you want it to go down or you want it to go up? And if you look at your weight, you want it to go down or you want it to go up, right? Most people want their bank account to go up, but yet they want their body pounds to go down, right?
Yes.
So there's just, again, that disconnect, right? So we want something, but then we might work really, really hard. We just have an unbalance to how much we work. We work maybe 40 to 60 hours is like the average right now of how much people work. They want to see their bank account go up, but yet they are not developing, like having the habits and developing the habits and the systems to have health and fitness. One of the biggest excuses that busy entrepreneurs, they give me, Mike, I just don't have any time. I go, okay, we're going to write out a 24-hour time block. As you said, we're trying to find those 2 hours in your day, and we find it. Sure enough, it is easy to find it. We all have time for the things that we want to do, accomplish, but we do have to give ourselves some level of understanding of why we want it. As you said, the purpose, why we do the things. One of the reasons why I'm in shape is maybe a little bit selfish, but I want to be able to run after my kid. I want to be able to chase after him.
Which is a lot. Lift the kid up and have yes. And it's a question I frequently ask too is, at what expense? Everything that we're going to do and that we allocate time to is, I think of time as a currency. Okay. You spend it, you can't spend it somewhere else. So at what expense, for example, you want to get in this physique of some sort, and because of that, you're having to allocate twice as much time to the gym. Okay, at what expense? Expense hanging out with your wife or your kid or your partner. Expense of doing other things that may bring you joy, like reading or watching TV. Like there's always going to be a push and pull. When people are a lot of times saying, I want to do something, okay, at what expense though is that going to come at? And we actually have to look at, is that expense worth it? Is the time that you're going to spend there the currency that's actually going to be worth it to you? And that sometimes helps people adjust things. A lot of times when I mention it like currency, and this is, you were asking about this earlier, a lot of people think that food and fitness are the be alls to end alls. And what I like to do is think of health and wellness in a multifaceted sense, because it does go past so much more. How are your relationships? How's your financial health? How's your spirituality? How's your work-life balance? How is your food? How is your fitness? But there's all these other areas that you're going to have to allocate time to that will contribute to your health and wellness in some ways. So at what expense is this goal going to cost you? And if that is worth it, fantastic. Let's figure out a way to get there. But if this is going to cost you too much, we need to have a different conversation on that. And that a lot of times helps people kind of figure out where they need to be putting their time and if that goal is actually worth it. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But it's a way that I look at it with a lot of clients, and it seems to resonate.
And as you said, wellness is not just eating well, going to the gym. It's understanding how much time you're working and how much time you're spending with your family. What do you want to do? And I wanted to ask you, what is your symmetry for wellness? Because it can be maybe because you're a mom and you just want to spend more time with your children growing up. And then you can focus on any time left you have on the business, because I'm sure you're well aware they grow up so quick. So what is your symmetry?
Well, it's funny. So I am, I'll give myself my credit. I'm very proud of myself for the work that I've done, where I feel very intuitively aligned to how I show up and how I contribute my own currency to my life. And listening to myself has become a huge aspect of that, because sometimes it is spending that extra hour with my son. Sometimes it is saying, I'm going to pick you up early from daycare and we're going to have a little day date. And sometimes it's like, I tell my husband, I'm handing him off to you. I need an hour because I need to go exercise, because if I don't, I'm going to explode. It really, to me at this point, has become very intuitive to how I'm feeling. But I will say the one consistent thing is I do need to take space for me every single day, even if it's 5 minutes. I need to remove myself, to take a breath, to collect myself. And sometimes it's 5 minutes. Sometimes it is a 60-minute workout where I'm doing all the things, but I do need to take inventory of myself at least once a day, even if it's for a brief moment, because that pause of the inventory is what allows me to be so intuitive about what I think I need to do that day. Because sometimes within that pause, I'm like, holy moly, I need to be alone. I really do. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I need my son. I need him to be near me. I need to play with him. We need to go do things. So taking inventory of how I feel has been really, really big. And every day kind of looks different because of that. And some days I do need a little bit more for me. And some days I have a lot more to give. But it's that balance that allows me to show up overall as a present human being for myself, for my partner, for my son, for my friends, my family. Because if we're not taking the time to actually give back to ourselves, we can't give to anyone else either. So it does look kind of different for me every day. But usually in the morning, I kind of wake up, do my little inventory check, and I figure out what kind of day that's going to be. And I kind of go accordingly from there. But in terms of the me time, I read, I will exercise, I like to go on walks. Sometimes I'll just sit out in the sun with my dog, but it usually typically is something that I do alone because that's when I recharge my batteries and then I can give out to the world everything else.
I don't know if this is a word, but intuitiveness, right? That is going to be something that people are not going to recognize immediately. Think of it as I get home from work. I'm just so tired, so exhausted. Like, I don't have time to cook. I'm just going to go get some fast food and I'm just going to sit on the sofa and just relax. You might need that, but how much of that do you need? Intuitiveness right there. Like, what is good? What is bad? How can we differentiate between the two?
I work with clients on this a lot because trusting ourselves is actually extremely difficult. And again, like I said, the 20% that is our brain overrides so much of what our body actually feels. I always encourage people to take 30 seconds. Okay, you're feeling a certain sort of way. You get home, you're tired, you just want to sit in the couch and eat fast food. Take 30 seconds. Take a couple deep breaths. What's your body feeling like? What's your mind feeling like? What is everything telling you? And sometimes that is go get McDonald's and sit your butt down and watch like Grey's Anatomy for the 500th time. Sweet, cool. That's feeling great. Love that for you. But a lot of times we're going too fast to even sit down and listen to ourselves. The second part of that is trusting that what you're hearing is correct. Okay, people are like, but what if I'm always hearing that I should sit down and eat fast food? Okay, let's have this conversation. What do you actually feel like a lot of the times after you do that? Well, I kind of feel sluggish and I kind of don't really feel great. Okay, why don't we maybe make some changes to make that not an everyday habit, but a once a week habit? Let's work with that. Let's start to see how you feel after you come home. Yes, I know you're tired. Make a home cooked meal and you can still sit down on the couch and eat it. But what are we feeling like after we do that? The good versus bad thing is interesting because I don't love to use those words, especially when it comes to food or even habits, because a lot of people will say like, oh, I feel so bad. I was so quote unquote lazy today. Well, what are you defining as lazy? Well, I sat on the couch all day. Okay, well, how did you feel after? Well, I actually felt pretty good. I kind of felt rested. I felt a little recharged. Okay, then how is that lazy? That was productive in its own sense. It wasn't bad that you did that. That was actually your intuition. And people will slowly start to trust themselves. But when you're thinking of it in terms of good versus bad, it's always going to be that push-pull, that currency. Okay, is this currency being spent in a way that is bringing me happiness and health? Or is this currency being spent in a way that's depleting me? So I try to avoid good versus bad, but I do ask people to take inventory of how they're feeling. And a lot of people will be surprised by, okay, you're telling me you feel lazy, but how did you feel after that? Oh, it was nice. I caught up on my shows. I rested. I took a nap. Okay, now do you feel more ready for tomorrow? Yeah, great. There you go. So it's a lot of reworking and redirecting people's thoughts around how they view health and wellness, because productivity is also a word I have some beef with, because a lot of people say you're productive if you make money and you're busy. Okay, you're also productive if you sit down. You're also productive if you take a nap. You're also productive if you go have your 60 minutes of alone time, because then you're going to be able to show up as a better parent. It's interesting to work with clients on this because it's a lot of reframing and it's a lot of asking them to pause and sit with their feelings, which a lot of people don't love to do. but it's helpful to sort of start to rewire your thoughts about how you view your wellness overall.
And I want to say that I love the conversation we had because it was so quick, straight to the point. There's just so
Yes.
many questions. I know people are like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And I understand it because many of us, we get there at some point and we do have to be reminded and we do have to be maybe nudged very gently. Hey, what are we doing, right? We create an awareness. We create different habits. It doesn't happen overnight. We begin to look at our life and then we make those small changes. But sometimes even making those small changes can be heaps and bounds and hurdles and obstacles, and it might seem impossible. But with the right coach, it seems like I think I can do it. And what you do, Sarah, is you help people find out what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to attain, and you help them by creating your plans, by your systems. And I find that to be so invigorating to see in a health and wellness coach because people want to have a better, happy life, but sometimes they need a little bit of direction. They need someone to maybe hold their hand. And I think you do a great job in it. I could tell from the
Thank
questions
you.
that we shared today that you're going to be a great asset in anyone's corner.
Thank you.
Of course, no problem. As we begin to wrap up, I would love to have some final words and then to please tell the audience where they can find you.
Yes. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you for having me. And I also love, as weird as it sounds, when my clients flee the nest, because I also know that they're ready to take on their own wellness and health and empower themselves. It's like I never love to see a client go, but it is also such a great thing when they graduate, quote unquote. Where you can find me, I am on social pretty frequently, Instagram at Sarah D. Johnston. My website is sarah-johnston-wellness.com. And my services, as well as all the information about my offerings, is on there as well as a way to book an introductory call with me to figure out if working together is something that you would be interested in. You can also hop into my direct messages. You can send me an email, sarah@sarahjohnstonwellness.com. Always happy to chat about all things health and wellness and see if working together is maybe something that you'd be interested in.
Excellent. And I will definitely make it easy for everyone. All the links are going to be in the description box below. You don't have to go far to reach out to Sarah. I encourage everyone to reach out to her, follow her on social media, and begin to go on a journey to a better health, a better wellness, and a better symmetry in all you do in your life. Because you don't have to go for the fast food anytime you get off work or every time you get off work. You can choose to do something more fulfilling that's going to make you say, you know what, I'm glad I did this instead. I want to thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on, spending some time with us, and sharing your journey and your history of health and wellness. All right, everyone. I would like to thank you so much for watching that episode with Sarah Johnston and myself. What went on in that interview is just so much goodness, number one. But she said so many great things that I was like, oh man, this is so good. This is so good. I want to kind of give my 2 cents. But then I always say, I was like, I want the guest to shine. And she sure as hell shined in that episode. I love Sarah. What I wanted to say was about parenting, was also about just how we change, and there's different moments in our life, but we can choose how we think, how we operate in those confines of everything, right? But the one I wanted to say was her final thoughts. It was so clear. It was so concise, and it's so true to what I believe today. When we graduate, when we grow into the person that we are getting closer to be, and maybe we step from one coach to another, because I also believe that coaches can be seasons, but maybe your season is going to be 1 year, 2 years or whatever, but you always elevate. It's almost like you are going through schooling again, right? You might start in kindergarten, then go to first grade and then second grade. There are some schools that keep teachers from like K1 and 2, and then they go up in phases like that. Depending on your mindset, depending on what you like, it could be beneficial. I've seen it work, and I think it does a great job. But then I think there's also an aspect of understanding I graduated, I elevated, and I can see it so clearly. When I was a teacher, it was so hard the first year. You see them graduating, the people going to middle school. If you're in an elementary that has an 8th grade, they're going into high school. You see them graduate and you're like, I don't want you to go. But as much as you want them to stay because you developed a relationship the past 10 months with them, you have to say, go on, the world is waiting for you. Maybe your best life is waiting for you. Heck, your life is not waiting, maybe. It is waiting for you. So why wait? Why not get on that roster? Why not choose to graduate to the next level, to the next coach, to the next moment where you can say, I was once here at this point, but now I'm here at this point. And we as coaches, we learn to allow our clients to move freely, to think freely. This is not something where we say, well, you're going to eat this and you're not going to be able to think, you're not going to be able to take action. For some reason, I think people are afraid to get a coach because they think that they're going to lose a sense of identity. They're going to lose a sense of independence. But when really a coach complements who you are, we embellish who you can become a lot sooner than if you did it by yourself. I always say we have the amount of time we have in the world. Our years are not endless, but yet we can create opportunities in our day that can get us to A and B a lot sooner. So we can go down the path of, I'm going to watch a bunch of YouTube videos and I'm going to go watch a bunch of reels and TikToks and stuff like that. And I'm going to learn how to do health and wellness for me. But then you're going to have the hiccups. You're going to have the trial and error. You're going to have the moments when you think you did bad. You're going to find that you didn't go to the gym for the past month. And then you're going to say, what's the point? When you have a coach, all of that is alleviated into the sense of, let's talk about how you feel. Let's talk about what you're going through. You're not alone. All right. What you're going through is natural. When you're trying to change, it can be difficult. But when you have the right coach, when you have the right person in your corner, it seems like no matter the mountain, no matter the obstacle, you can overcome it. So learn how to overcome your obstacles and begin to decide a better health and wellness for you. What that is going to be unique to you. Again, individualized plans, what Sarah said, is so important. We want coaches that are not going to say, well, here's a program for you. This is going to make you better. It's not. What you need is what you need, and what someone else needs is what someone else needs. And what you want for yourself might not be exactly in line with what society wants, with what your friend wants, or anyone else around you. You get to decide what you want in your life. So what will you decide today? Will you decide to remain the same, or will you decide to make some changes that you're going to be so happy that you made? My name is Michael Reardon. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me, coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.